Evening all, welcome to day 22 of our Advent calendar, and we're continuing the Bethesda theme today with probably one of the finest games I played ever, and I hope you enjoy it too. It is the sublime and often slightly unusual Fallout 4. Now, I would have played Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 here, but I decided with Fallout 4 just because I think it's a bit more kind of easy on the eye. And we'll talk about certainly why Fallout has made this list and its kind of drives and motivators in just a moment. But let me first just introduce this game if you've never played it. It is the Fallout series are basically a very, very kind of post-apocalyptic RPG essence style game. And Fallout 1 and 2 were actually isometric top-down RPGs. Whereas Fallout 3 began this kind of FPS RPG theme, and it was actually set in Washington, and it was really good. It was incredibly good. In fact, I'm blappering over it. It was an incredibly good game. So naturally, when Fallout 4 came out, which is set in the Mojave Desert, this was just an absolute guaranteed purchase for me because, again, as I said yesterday, Bethesda generally don't do bad games. They do very good stuff. So. And I just think this one probably took what Fallout 3 produced and, took it times 10 and made it just incredibly good. Now, interestingly enough, critics of this game say that Fallout 3 is better. I probably would say they're just as good as each other. So I think, again, if you go to kind of like your bargain basement bins of your kind of supermarkets, if you ever see Fallout 3, I see Fallout 3 in mine very often, and it's on there for like £2. Just buy it. If you haven't got it, buy it. It is the cheapest amount of entertainment you'll ever have. Same with Fallout 4, but I think Fallout 4 pretty much embraced digital distribution, which is distribution. And to be honest, Steam pretty much held the flag for this one, and I think it probably made them quite a lot of money because everything seemed, certainly when Fallout 4 came out, by that point everything had moved from hard copies like I used to buy to just downloading the game. So interestingly enough, that's where this kind of genesis came from. Now the game features pretty much a very interesting story as well, because you are a courier and you've been betrayed, and that's all I'll say. The rest you can work out on your own. And you begin the game, and it is a very good leveling up style game. It's all about finding loot. It is kind of like DayZ in a way, but good, if that makes sense. And I'm not dissing DayZ, but the game. This there is a difference between DayZ and a game like this, like you wouldn't believe. It's like comparing Doom 2 to Skyrim. It just doesn't work. Very different games, very different ethos, etc. So let's talk about maybe where Fallout's series comes from. I mean, the original Fallout 1, as I say, top-down isometric game, it really was. If you ever played that, you'll probably accept that it was just an incredibly difficult game. It was also quite a difficult game to really get into. Great story, but everything else about it was quite difficult, I'm going to say. It don't mean in terms of its complexity so much. It was just a little bit, I don't know, it wasn't the easiest game to get into, whereas in this, obviously the first-person shooter makes it so much better, and it just makes it such a kind of much more realistic experience. That's probably what I'm looking for, is Fallout 1 and 2 weren't terribly realistic. You were very aware you were playing a game, whereas in this, you do immerse yourself, so quite a difference. There's some really nice kind of features with Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 games, in that you don't necessarily have the best shooter in the world. And I do mean that. I think you have to kind of trade off a few things. And it's a solid shooter. As you saw, I just killed these two dudes, no problem. But it didn't feel... It's no certainly Call of Duty or Battlefield, which are primarily about shooting people. Whereas this is an adventure game. So, you can't expect the best shooter in the world. But to balance that, you have something called the VATS system, which we'll show you in just a moment, which is in essence a kind of, quick time event. Well, I guess as I said that, I was like, no, it's not. But actually it is. It's kind of like a quick time event, but without the press left, up, down, right, and then Zangief will triple power drive them into the floor. That kind of thing isn't here. It's really just about, it's taking it from what the original Fallout 1 and 2 had, which was this kind of almost weird combat system where you rolled a dice, and it's turning it into more of an FPS. Made no sense, I know, it makes absolutely no sense to me either, but there we go. So as you can see, I've bugged myself up. Now this is the Pip-Boy. Everything about Fallout games has this Pip-Boy. and it's very nice indeed, and it's just a lovely interface with the game. So here we go, let me show you that. So just going to shoot this young gecko in the face with a double barrel shotgun because that's how we roll. And you can see you basically pick people, the bits of the body that you want to shoot. And obviously I'm using a shotgun here, so things get kind of messy, as you see there. Now, as you see, you can use this system on humans as well, so you can actually cripple them. You can put them on the floor, well, more or less. You can also take their arm off and shoot their gun even. If you're that good, you can actually really do some damage. So again, as a game, it is very much an adventure game, don't forget that. Now, let me explain to you, probably you're wondering why I'm playing this from the start. And you're probably thinking, well, you've never played this before. No, I have. I probably have played, I think it said 48, I forgot, was it 148 hours of this game? And when you uninstall a game from Steam, it removes your saves for some reason. Usually it's supposed to keep it, but for some reason when I because I uninstalled because of space, lol. But I uninstalled the game and then I came back to it, obviously to do this video, and I was just gutted to see that I'd lost my level 48 something character, something like that. And I was gutted because I had like the anti-material rifle, the sniper rifle of joy. This thing is a 50 caliber sniper rifle, and it is the funniest thing in the game. And I'm so annoyed I've lost it. So I may have to, in the new year probably, I may have to put some time in just to get my character back up, because I never even played half the DLCs for this as well. So I think there's still, I should mention that in fact, there's a huge amount of downloadable content for this, which I believe is free. Could be wrong, could be wrong. No, it's not. I lie, in fact, I am wrong, because I remember it cost me something like 40 pence. And it gives you guns, it gives you a few levels, a few stories, a few missions, things like that. It's maybe worth it. It depends if you're really immersed in the game, then it probably is worth it. But I was quite impressed with it. I thought it was very, very good. So the DLC is like stuff that came after the game released, and I just have not played it yet. So I think, I'm kind of keen to check it out, to be honest. In terms of the game, I think it's a fantastic kind of shooter, and the reason it's so high in the list is just because you could lose yourself in this game. You could play for days. The combat system's pretty good. You get better guns. Oh my god, did you see that? I shot the dynamite in his hand. Isn't that brilliant? And I think you could really kind of go to town with it, and it's just such a joyful game when you do stuff like that. You feel powerful, and you start off feeling weak, and as you get more leveled up and as you get stronger, you actually start to get this perception of being powerful, until the point where you're striding across the desert, pretty much smiting giant ants, shooting anybody in the face, and when and eventually you'll annoy one side of the army of the war or the other. So in essence, there's a war going on between the NCR and the Legion, which again, you can pretty much work out which side they are. The NCR is New California Republic. They're all kind of like a formal army, an organized army, and the Legion are pretty much what would happen if a load of loonies decided to make Rome 2. And they literally have just created the whole Roman army with slaves, etc. So you can see which one's good, which one's evil. Now you have to you don't have to pick a side. You can actually pick your own side, which is nice. And I would probably say again, we talked a lot in this series about choices. Choices always being kind of present or not present in a game does dictate how maybe successful that game is. A game can have choices and be crap. A game cannot have choices and be brilliant. So it's a bit 50-50, and I think with particularly Fallout 4 and Skyrim and others, they are games that have absolute choice across the board, and you can pretty much choose what you do and don't do entirely. You can pick who you side with, you can pick everything about it, and I think that's a really nice kind of part of the game, or part a game series, if you like, that certainly gets my attention. Now sometimes you don't want that, you want a really good conveyed story. So Space Marine, for example, is a fantastically conveyed story, but it's a rail shooter in essence. So you have to often sometimes pick what you want to do. Having sometimes an open world shooter that people want, but they want the kind of fairground ride that some games will give you, but they want it to be open world. You just sometimes you can't do that. And I think some of the games that are coming out on Steam and others, when you really play them, you realize they don't really work. And you can see the idea, you can see maybe what they're trying to do, but it doesn't really work. we'll maybe talk about them. What we might do in the new year is a kind of list of bad games, and we'll play some really bad games. But as it stands, I would sort of highly recommend Fallout 4. I think it must be on Steam now for very cheap. The Steam sale is also on. Other electronic distribution delivery systems are available. Origin is obviously there as well. I don't really have any loyalty to Steam. I think it's just the one I started using. So Steam to me lately seems to be becoming a little bit more of a an indie workshop. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, every time I look on Steam, it doesn't feel like you're getting AAA titles on there as much. It feels like you're getting a lot more indie stuff, which again, nothing wrong with that, but not as kind of impressed lately with some of their stuff. Plus, I think some of the prices, yeah, they're obviously making money, let's say. But you might be able to pick up Fallout 4 with all of the downloadable content, certainly for a pretty much a snip, as they would say. And what a game you will get, because from this point forward, let me just paint you a picture. There is, we haven't even gone to the New Vegas Strip. You can gamble, you can, basically create entire robot armies that will fight for you. You can become a member of the Legion and fight for Caesar and be an evil bastard. You can become a new California Republic Army leader, blah, blah, blah. And there's so many bases to find. One of the beauties of this game is the exploration. So few games have good exploration, and this game does. This game has the best exploration because you can just walk in a random direction in the desert, and I tell you what, you'll find something interesting to look at. You'll find either riches or death, and that's the beauty of this game, is that it's always that risk of, well, that looks dangerous, but there could be something awesome in there, and I think it's so rare to find that nowadays. The weapons are brilliant. As you can see here, we're using our incinerator. This is a sort of flamethrower, kind of projected flamethrower thing, but it's just amazing. You'll meet robots. You'll have incredible ability. For example, I reprogrammed this dude to become the new sheriff because I'm that good, and I think it really does become just an amazing open, sprawling, wonderful, shooty, fun exploration kind of game that gives you some real interesting moral decisions, and it gives you also the ability to be a complete and utter bastard. And any game that allows me to be a complete and utter bastard is getting my money. Oh, and rest. So, hope you enjoyed that. As we almost get now to our top 25, day 25, it's Christmas Day. These last few games certainly are important to us, and I hope you agree that as well. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.